Ways to avoid wasting money when hiring a marketing agency. Hey y'all, how you doing? It's me, Geraldine Convento from Reverence Media, and I'm here with.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nicole Moreno-Deinzer, and I am the CEO and co-founder of Alamode Branding. Thank you so much for joining us today.
We have a lot of thoughts about this, and I'm sure you're
Yeah.
really curious. But Nicole, do you want to go ahead and start off?
Yeah, my number one tip is really to go with your gut instinct because I do feel like as business owners, we compare ourselves to other business owners. And so we feel like we need to spend money to solve this problem and we should do it like quote unquote the right way. So I'm just going to do this, like pay for this person because everyone else does. And I'm a business owner, so I should be doing this instead of really going with your gut instinct of this doesn't feel right. They're not asking questions, or I just am not vibing with the person. So, really to trust your gut because you are investing this money into your business. You are building a relationship with this person. So, you want to make sure you're going into it feeling good about your decision.
Absolutely. And just know that when you hire a marketing agency, what you're asking for might not be what you actually need. As you're doing the interview, say, I'm thinking that I need this and that. What do you think? Based on my stage of my business or what I've told you so far, that will give them an opportunity to share their experience and also show how much knowledge that they have as it relates to being able to support your business.
Exactly. And it also allows you to see how well do they know their stuff, right? And also, are they vulnerable enough to share with you, you know what? I don't think this will work, but I know someone that it will work, right? So if there's like some humility and humbleness there, because I think you and I both have met consultants where they're lacking in the humbleness, right? They pretend like they know everything. It's like, no, you don't. Or they pretend that they are the best person for every type of client, and they're not. Definitely asking those questions to a potential remote marketing team consultant will really showcase to you what more of their personality.
It's a good idea to interview multiple companies since it's such a big investment and because it might be your first time and you don't have any experience working with a marketing company.
It's like dating, right? It's like you have to go on a few dates with people. I think it's also going back to taking a step back and not hiring someone out of fear or frustration. So that's why we want you to interview multiple people. I think some business owners, they wake up and they're just like, oh my God, I need this website. Or, oh my God, like with the pandemic, I saw this a lot with a lot of brick and mortar businesses. Oh my God, I actually need to do online sales because everyone's doing like DoorDash and stuff. There's all this fear. It's like, oh, I need to catch up because if I don't, then I'm going to lose money and there's customers. And so you hire the first person that says they could solve that problem without really getting to know them, taking a breath, taking a beat, and just be like, all right, what exactly am I looking for? And then I'll start the hiring process, not doing this out of like frustration, because then you're bound to make mistakes.
Doing things in general out of fear and lack is not really a good look. Hopefully, if you're interviewing some folks and you're in that position, they can reassure you and just have some compassion as opposed to I don't know, totally ignoring what your feelings are and trying to sell you. Also, ask them if they have a process. Like, how do you work with your clients? What's your mode of communication? How long are we going to be working together? These are all really important questions. Additionally, do they have a team or is it one person? I don't doubt that there are consultants out there or people who do marketing that are really great at what they do, but we have to remember that life happens. Sometimes something will happen to the person you hire, and if they don't have a team, then you're kind of stuck waiting for their life to keep going as normal.
It got me thinking as you were talking, this whole working with different consultants, if consultants use any type of phrasing like, I guarantee this, work with me for 30 days, 60 days, this will happen. That's a great time to ask them if they've worked with people similar to you. And going back to Geraldine's question, their process, because I'm always wary when someone guarantees me something because I'm just like, well, you don't have control over the world. Then you're literally taking my business idea, and doing this very cookie cutter type of solution that may get me some numbers in the beginning, but it may not, right? And then I've unfortunately heard through the grapevine, through other business owners, I've worked with a lot of different brick and mortar businesses. They hire someone that does that guarantee. And I don't know if these consultants use it as an upsell tactic. Maybe some of them do, but if they don't hit those goals in like 30, 60 days, then they're like, oh, well, actually, if you pay X amount, then we could get like those followers or we can get more traction to your website. It is just like fascinating to me that someone is okay taking more money from a small business owner without actually trying to get to know them. It's like I feel like there's something in there that's very heartless. And that got me thinking of another thing is that be very truthful with yourself and with whoever you're hiring of your budget. There is a consultant that could fit every budget. Granted, remember the less you pay, the less you're able to get because this consultant is using part of this as their life income. Don't expect to get something that would cost like $5,000 for like $1,000, right? Or $10,000 for, $5,000. You get what you paid for, but do be honest about your budget because if the person you're working with cannot work within that budget for whatever reason, they can then refer you to someone that can work with that budget. I think people get a little scared because they don't want to sound cheap or they don't want to miss out. So I hate when people are like, well, you just send me the proposal. And I'm like, no, really, I'm not going to get mad. Please tell me what you're comfortable paying with because I do know as a business owner, you're taking this money out of like your personal income. And especially in the beginning, if you're starting out, I know you may not have a lot of money in your business income. So what is your comfort level? So I could show you what works within that comfort level, or I could tell you the conversation needs to end here. I'll refer you to this person.
I've spoken to a lot of new business owners and they're like, well, actually, I have no idea because I've never done this before. In that case, as a marketer, sometimes I'll give them a range.
Mm-hmm.
So, and confirm that way because I mean, it takes a long time to put together these proposals because companies like ours, we don't have a proposal that's just done and ready to send to you. We're going to
Yeah.
cater it to what your needs are. If you're interviewing, ask, say, do you have a sense of what the range for something I'm looking for would be? And that way they can give you their answer about costs if you don't know what your budget is.
I love in proposals, like trying to get people like the awesome, great, good. Okay, this is everything you wanted. This is how much it's going to cost. And this is in the middle. And then this is like bare bones. Granted, there's some trust there, I think, as the person that's hiring needs to have in the consultant, that the consultant is not going to try to overcharge them or get one over on them. Like, so you really do have to trust the fact that the consultant is being honest with you of how much it's really going to cost them. Because do keep in mind when you're paying for a consultant, you're not just paying for the end project, you are paying for their time, the time that they take out to work on this project and is their livelihood as well. So be mindful of that. I think sometimes people forget that you're paying for our time, like not just the end goal.
The other thing that we didn't touch on is the duration of time to expect to work with a marketer. It's pretty unrealistic to work with a marketing agency for 1 to 2 months.
Yeah.
I would, at minimum, and this is if you're really organized and you have pretty low expectations about like the scope of work, at
Mhm.
minimum 3 months, but really I recommend anywhere from 6 to 12 months. Maybe like 6 would be a good time because you want enough time to be able to measure success. You need the marketing agency's expertise to be able to even discern what the results are. Results aren't always based only on how much sales you make. Results are also
Yeah.
based on followers. They're based on how many people got onto your list, how many downloads, and there's several different factors, and you can talk to your marketing
Mhm.
agency about what are those measurement points that you're going to have throughout the campaign to make sure you're on track or to measure what's working, what's not. But
Mhm.
time is another factor. If you're looking to do something for a few weeks or a month, then I would probably wait till you have a bigger budget.
Yeah, I think the only time it works best to work with someone for like a month or two, again, is if you're super organized and you only are paying for them for one thing, like write blogs for 2 months. And here are the topics to write blogs about. That's something someone could do like for a month or two. but not create a whole marketing strategy and implement it. We can't do that in 2 months. You have to also keep that in mind then of the duration and the budget, right? So if your budget is 10,000 total, that's the most you can pay. Giselle and I will try to spread it out. So we're just like, okay, if we need to be with you for 12 months, we're going to spread it out for 12 months. If we need to be for 6 months, we're going to spread it out 6 months. But I also know like other consultants, they work differently. They're like, okay, I want like 50% now, 50% at this time, and it'll be like a few months. So again, going back to when you look at your budget, you also have to look at what Geraldine said, the duration of the project. And that's another thing is that if you're going to be working with someone, definitely ask yourself if you are ready to work with someone. Because if you are just looking for someone to solve your problem, but you're not mentally ready to be vulnerable about your business, then you're going to have some negative feelings about giving money to someone else. That's because you may view it as you're giving money to this person that's making you feel uncomfortable, right? Making you die. So, and then it could be a little uncomfortable. So I always tell people, I'm like, if you're ready to be vulnerable, because your consultant ideally is going to know your business in and out. So they're going to know your mistakes and where you could improve and your strengths and how much money your business is actually making. So if you're not ready for that, that uncomfortableness is going to come through because you are going to be paying them.
The last point that we hadn't really talked about yet is make sure that whoever you're working with writes the scope of work in writing. So, in
Oh,
other words, that you have a contract, because there's been a lot of times where I've spoken to people who've worked with other marketers and I say,
mhm.
okay, what did they do for you? Well, to be honest, I'm not really sure. They set up my Facebook page, but I don't really know what else. I'm like, well, did you have a contract? They're like, no. And
Mhm.
if you have questions and don't understand what's inside of the contract, ask to go over it with them. Because at the end of the day, it's an investment and you need to know what you're actually getting, especially if you're going to compare against other quotes that you're getting from other consultants. That way you can just see, okay, for this amount of money, I'm getting this from this company. For this amount of money, I'm getting this from this company. Which one's a better fit for my business?
And so you don't get those contracts until like you sign up with the consultant. Definitely in the beginning, you're going to have 15 to 20-minute conversations with different consultants. For the most part, those should be free conversations. Then they'll send you a proposal. You look at the proposals, you look at their quotes, however, whatever they call it. And then from there, you can decide, okay, I'm going to go into a business relationship, if you will, with this consultant. And then they should write out like the whole contract. That contract should definitely have payment schedule. What happens if there is a dispute between you two? I remember with my writers for another business, like the contract had even like we have to meet a mediator in this county, You want to make sure like that's all sort of written out, read it. So that way you guys are both on the same page legally to get into this business relationship.
Another thing is check if they have termination fees. Bigger companies tend to have termination fees. And do you own everything they produce for you? Do you own your brand? Do you own the graphics? All of that stuff. That's another issue that one of my existing clients is actually dealing with right now. They were working with a previous company
Mm-hmm.
and didn't read the fine print that said, we own your whole brand until you pay us all of our money for a contract. But the thing was, the relationship between the two companies didn't work out well. And so my client terminated early, and they didn't realize until they read the fine print that the other company owns all of the assets and copy and everything they created until they pay out that money. So they had to do this huge settlement, plus, start working with us,
Mm-hmm.
like a larger investment than they needed to make to begin with, because if they had read that, maybe they would have thought twice about working with that company. So if you're working with a company like a la mode or with Reverence Media, you own everything. You know,
Yes.
in the event where you like default and stop paying, that's like a whole nother story. But at the end of the day, you own everything that is yours.
Sometimes It's just the process the consultant has. So I know some people, like website designers, they'll create a website under like their, and so it's technically under their name. So that could just be a little like just process mistake that your website designer made, your consultant made. So when you're asking questions about even that, like their process, make sure that at the end of the relationship, you can log in everywhere
That's
and
right. And that you
access.
have administrator access to everything.
Yeah, it's so simple, but I met so many people, and I'm sure you have, because this is more your world, that have no access to their website. And I'm like, that hurts, because you probably invested into this really good website and it worked really well and it looks amazing, but you cannot access it. And so at the end of it, just make sure whoever you're working with that you have admin access to all of it that you could easily delegate to someone else once the business relationship is done.
And some web development firms might say something like, we require the final payment before we launch the website. It's fine if that's the case, but just make sure you're fully aware of how they work.
Mhm.
Okay, we've covered a lot today. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below or DM us. We're going to keep on doing these videos, so watch the next one. And if you find it helpful, definitely hit that like button, love button, wherever you're.
We want to hear from you.
Have a great day whenever you're watching this, morning,
Mhm.
evening, or night. Bye.
Mhm.